Well, hello, Internet, and welcome back to another TosCasts podcast. This is TosCast number, and I have no idea, IG. It's been so long. I think it's 19 or 20, but I'll look it up later.
It
We
has
are
been
back.
a little while. Just the fact that we've lost count I think, is testament enough that you've done a fair few of these.
Absolutely. But yes, we are back. Toss today, of course, myself, Toss today, and IG Infinitely Galactic. You folks have been asking. We are here. Well, he is here. I'm always here. But for tonight's topic, we will discuss the best Linux stories for 2012 and maybe a look forward into the year, this year, 2013. IG it certainly was an eventful year for 2012. Many good things. Let me start off by asking you something. What do you think was one of the biggest stories for 2012 for Linux?
Uh, there was so many. I think, especially in terms of Linux as a core, not necessarily as desktop Linux, but we saw like huge leaps in Chrome OS, which is of course Linux based.
Right.
Obviously, Android was still a big thing. We saw quite a few leaps and bounds in that, and then also the announcements of. I mean, that was more like very recent, like early 2013, but still there were rumors in 2012 about the whole Ubuntu on devices, and that's really something they've been pushing, with their Unity desktop, that they were wanting something that they could, push
Right.
out on a number of different devices. So, I mean, for me, those were pretty big, and also then Steam on Linux as well. The development cycle of that happened over the last year. Everybody was very excited about that. And
Yes.
of course, now it's dropped. It's final. It's stable, and and for all intents and purposes, it works.
Right. Just to drop a bit of a rumor thing, I read somewhere just this morning that Ubuntu might be, and I stress might be, there is a developers meeting I believe coming up, and we may discuss this in a future podcast, but Ubuntu might be going to a rolling release. We shall see what happens. But for me, I would have to say, as a dual booter, booting both Windows 7 and, of course, various versions of Linux, I have to tell you, IG, Ubuntu 12.04 to me is a winner. It is my standard desktop. In fact, lately, really ever since before the last holidays, I boot more into 12.04 than I do into Windows 7. And right now, because of the functionality and stability of 12.04, I very rarely have to boot it to Windows 7. One of the reasons I still have to is to sync my MP3 player, the Microsoft Zune, and a few other things. But for the most part, it is my standard desktop. My standard Linux desktop is what I use now. What is your current standard Linux desktop now?
I'm actually going to say exactly the same thing. I've floated around to different desktops and different systems. I've actually tried running the latest KDE 4.10 on Kubuntu 12.10,
Yeah.
and obviously I've tried out quite a few distributions since then. But there is always one partition on my hard drive that has been Ubuntu 12.04, and I think we're up to zero point 0.2. And that's always stayed the same. And the funny thing is, I've found myself booting that more and more often than Windows, than any
Yes.
other Linux system, just because, yep, it's stable, it works. With a few additional PPAs, you get up to date software,
Right.
and really, there's no features from 12.10, that I desperately need.
Yes.
So, I mean, it just works, and that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Windows 7. I think it's better than Windows 8 for what it's worth. Not that Windows 8 is that bad. Me and Twill this week in Linux did a podcast. I entitled it "Windows 8 Garbage or Great," and he had a few
Yes, I
surprising,
did tune in.
yeah, and he had a few surprising things to say that I won't give it away, but check out that podcast. But
I've
uh,
got a few interesting comments on Windows 8 as well, because I have been running it for the last probably 2 months now.
Oh, you have.
So
Save that for a
yes,
future show. Absolutely. I want to hear that. But yeah. But
yeah.
getting back to 1204, look, there's just something about hitting the dash, searching for whatever you need, and bam, you're right there. It's very addicting, if you know what I mean. But
That's
I
right. And also,
yeah,
the HUD menu was something that,
yes,
I always considered a little bit gimmicky when it first came out, but oh my goodness, the amount of times that I actually find myself using it now,
right,
especially with things like LibreOffice, Kden Live, GIMP, Inkscape, and I literally wish that it had that functionality on Macs or on Windows as well, because I find myself using it all the time now.
right. That search function, the standard dash, and you mentioned the HUD. That is the right now as a Windows person, that is the symbol of user friendliness. We love it. Let's see. You mentioned Chrome OS. I did do a review, a little test on Chrome OS in a virtual box. I knew what it was, but had very little experience. And from the little time I have played with it, IG, you know what? It's dummies proof. It's light. It's simple. It works for people who just want to get on the web and go. IG, apparently the biggest selling laptop is a Chrome OS book, a Chrome laptop on Amazon. I believe it's either 200 or 250 US dollars. You get free updates and upgrades to both the apps and the system. I believe the more expensive one gives you like a 6 to 8 hour battery life, which is terrific. Chrome OS is here to stay because I was looking at some late news on the Chrome Pixel laptop, which has a combination keyboard touchscreen. That one is a bit pricey at about 1,400 US dollars. I'm not sure how well that will sell, but it has the highest, I believe, according to the specs, it has the highest resolution Retina display, even higher than the MacBook Air, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
But
the MacBook Pro Retina display, yeah.
yeah, yeah. The something about the pixel rating a little higher, 227 versus 224 for Mac or something like that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but
That's the
getting back,
second time Google have done that now
yeah,
with the
uh,
Nexus 10.
yeah. I mean, Chrome OS is here to stay. I thought about buying one, but I have probably right now in my possession a half a dozen machines. And do I really need another one? I told myself, no, I really don't need it. So I'll pass on the Chrome OS book for now. But for a college student who doesn't necessarily need a Windows piece laptop or doesn't like Windows 8 for whatever reason, and all you want to do is get on the web and go and get the free updates, a Chromebook might be the way to go.
I mean, I
Let's,
think just the
yeah.
fact that it's $250, it has a decent keyboard trackpad combo, decent battery life, very small, very portable, and obviously very much ready for the web, which is, to be honest, that's what most, college students especially live with. That I mean, it's completely understandable why it's the number one selling laptop on Amazon. It's a bit of a shame that it's only available in the US and the UK. I probably would have bought one if it weren't for the fact that shipping one over from the States is a bit pricey, but still,
Oh,
$250, not too
yeah.
bad.
Okay. Let's see. Well, keeping on the theme of Chrome OS, or Google rather, the biggest winner, new product winner last year, probably the Nexus 7 tablet. I believe you have one, yes?
Yes, indeed. And I
And
use it literally every day.
so it's definitely a winner, to say the
Oh,
least.
absolutely, yes.
Okay, well, that's a good example of a company like Google, as opposed to Microsoft, coming out with a new product, in this case, a tablet, with the right size, with the right price. And Tula and I had discussed this. We talked about this on the Windows 8 Garbage or Great podcast, that this is where Microsoft blew it because the Nexus 7 tablet was such a winner that now Apple had to step back and say, hey, they have that and we don't. Now the shoe's on the other foot, so to speak. So they have the
Yes,
Apple
indeed.
Mini, right? The iPad Mini for what, 329. Uh,
It's still a
Microsoft,
whole $100 more expensive than the Nexus 7, but hey,
it's reasonable. I mean, it's within reasonable. Whereas Microsoft has absolutely nothing to compete with that. They're starting at
that's right.
$500 or higher, and that's where I think Microsoft blew it. Not to say that it's not a fine $500 tablet, but in terms of marketing, they have nothing. So
Mm.
where was
It's
it? Yeah,
interesting. Like, I'm definitely like seeing a market shift here as far as what corporations, what corporations consumers are heading to, and what sort of market the different corporations are appealing to. I mean, it definitely seems like although Microsoft has kind of fumbled around in the consumer area for the last 2 or 3 years, and with Windows 8, it's trying to make it more touch friendly and da da da. But really, with its own products that it's shipping, like the Surface and the Surface Pro,
yeah,
in its advertisements, you can definitely tell that it's more appealing to professionals, to businesses, as opposed to
right.
your average consumer. Because even the Surface itself is not a terribly user-friendly form factor unless you're
Mm,
doing a lot of typing and you're always at a desk.
right.
So whereas companies like Google and Apple, they've been chasing the consumer market for quite some time now, and to be honest, they're actually nailing it as far as Google
Yes.
having the most popular laptop on Amazon, the Nexus 7 being one of the most popular tablets, and of course Apple's products are still very popular.
Right, right.
So
Well, that's definitely a valid point. I still say that if Microsoft would have had a comparable, say, 7-inch tablet, even at 249.99 and not 199, I think it would be more exposure for them of people saying, "Hey, look, Windows 8 is not bad on a touchscreen," but because they almost eliminated the consumer market, I just think that's a bad future move. I mean, that's just me
mm,
as a, you know what I mean? That's just me as a consumer saying
mm,
that.
mm.
But that's what they chose to do, so that's their problem and not mine. All right, IG, what else? Well, might as well stick with the Google theme. The finally a iPhone killer, if I can call it that, came out with the Android Galaxy S3, a wonderful phone. If I could get it now with my contract, I am not due until August. I would get it. Um, Terrific phone. I have played with it physically. It does everything you want it to do and even more than the iPhone. And I believe the S4 is due here out in a couple weeks. Uh, they've been hush hush about the specs, but I believe there is a grand opening of sorts on YouTube on March 14th about the S4. Have you heard that?
Yes, I have heard it. I mean, quite honestly, I seriously think that Samsung have really been pushing the envelope as far as mobile technology, especially since around 2010. I think the market started to sort of shift as far as Apple was seen to be the first person that made the smartphone as a consumer level product, and now
Yes.
ever since around the iPhone 4 and the Galaxy S2 came out, that gained a lot of traction. And now you see phones like the Nexus 4 and the Galaxy S3, the Note 2, all fantastic mobile devices that have specs and capabilities far
Yes.
beyond what the iPhone's offering. So year after year now, it almost seems that so Samsung will come out with the S4, the specs and the functionality of it will be very new, very amazing. And then, at the end of the year, Apple will be playing catch up and release a minor rev, maybe the 5S, and
Right.
it'll just be like a minor spec bump. But to be honest, I mean, unless Apple does something very, very, very revolutionary with the current state of iOS,
Right.
I don't really see like it, Apple's products have kind of plateaued in what they can do simply
Yes.
because iOS has kind of been stagnant, for the
Right.
last couple of years, whereas Android is just jumping ahead in leaps and
Yes.
bounds.
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously, the market is still very fragmented, in that you got a lot of phones still running gingerbread and some running ice cream sandwich and then a few running jelly bean. But I mean, just what these companies are providing, what Samsung's bringing to the table is just incredible compared to what was seen as revolutionary in the last couple of years, from Apple's iPhone. So yeah, I'm very excited to see
Yeah.
what the S4 brings, but yeah, as a general rule, I tend to wait a good year after the phone's released before I actually buy one personally for myself for budgetary constraint
Sure.
reasons, obviously.
Sure.
But I mean, I'm still a very happy user of the Galaxy S2, and I'll probably update to the S3 or possibly the S4, when the price is right. So
Cool. Yeah, like I said, I will have to wait here in the US. I'm on the Sprint network, and that is the I believe the last US provider that gives you true unlimited data with no throttling, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, that being said, yeah, I will have to wait until August. I have my uh, Motorola Photon, which is perfectly fine phone, but I'm a little bit miffed. You may have heard last year that Motorola kind of changed their mind. They canceled their promise to upgrade the Android from 2.2 to 4.0. Kind of miffed a lot
Yes.
of you. Yeah, and I'm a little miffed myself, but they do make a terrific hardware product. Motorola, if you're listening, just a quick little tip from a consumer. Don't make any promises that you cannot keep, okay? All right.
But according to the Amazing Spider-Man movie, those are the best kind. Have you seen that movie? Never
I've
mind. That's a reference that'll fall on dead ground.
okay. I have seen one or two of the Spider-Man movies, but that one is not quite. I'm sure someone will probably understand it though. All right.
Uh,
Um,
anyway, but actually, no. Interestingly enough, just in the beginning of this year, back in like late January, I got the official Jelly Bean update on the Galaxy S2,
yeah.
and so
Nice.
user interface wise, it looks exactly the same as the
Okay.
Galaxy S3. And so it has a lot of the features as well. So and that's one thing that I really do admire about Samsung in that
Yes.
they have been upgrading the functionality and I mean, gosh, the performance on the Jelly Bean update, the official one for
Yeah.
Samsung's devices, very very smooth, very very nice. So
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 it's
yes,
better.
I'm
Okay.
I'm a happy customer. Yes,
Okay. So it's
it
definitely
definitely
better.
has
Okay.
improved.
Okay. Cool.
Mm.
Oh, let's see. I'm just going down my list here. Oh, yeah, gaming. I frequently get questions and help, people wanting help about gaming. I don't do any gaming on PC. I have my Xbox 360 IG. I believe you do some gaming. So what do you think of Steam now that it's available, I believe, officially in Ubuntu, which was, I believe the beta started, what, last summer, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Okay. Do you use Steam?
Well, funnily enough, I've only just sort of got on the Steam bandwagon because of the fact it has come to Linux and it's quite a big news topic. So, therefore my position here on YouTube kind of dictates that I take a look at it. And so yes, I've been poking around it for the last couple of days, and yeah, I mean, props to Ubuntu really with
Yeah.
the fact that they were able to get such a market share to make companies like Valve sit up and listen and just the amount of work that Valve has been doing to, not just with the Steam client itself, but with a lot of the system level stuff, like making sure that the graphics drivers work,
Right.
and like when I opened Steam for the first time, it said, "Hey, you're using an older NVIDIA graphics driver. We recommend you use this one. It's been tested, blah blah blah."
Mm-hmm.
And and they gave you how to's it on how to install that,
Okay.
and they're really, I mean, props to Valve as well for really, chasing this Steam on Linux and really pushing it as far as
Right.
their developers are concerned because they've obviously signed a lot of time and resources into it, and obviously it does benefit them in that they're not vocally they're not very big fans of Windows 8.
Yeah.
So, just to have an alternative there for people that are
Sure.
looking, and not to mention the millions of Linux users that have been wanting Steam on
Well,
Linux for the
of
last
course. Yeah.
number of years. So, I
I
mean,
know.
it's great to see, and I'm sure as more and more games come to it, I think I heard there was some 120 titles now available on the Linux side of things. Obviously, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to what's available
Right.
on Windows and probably Mac as well. But nevertheless, great work in
Yeah.
1 year.
Yes.
We went from having we went from having just purely Linux games and some unofficial ports of some games
Right.
to now we have Steam. We have an official game distribution platform specifically designed for Ubuntu. So, you know, fantastic.
It's for all the gamers out there who play PC games, even for Windows people who like to dual boot and play games in Linux. That is terrific news. But I will say this: like I said, I don't play any PC games Windows or Linux. But if gaming is to succeed on Linux, and I'm talking a few years down the line, from what I've seen, strictly from what I've seen, not necessarily played, the video drivers and the graphics, they really have to get better because they really right now cannot compete. From what I see with my eyes and what I play, say a Halo game on the Xbox 360. Now you have posted a review of a game which I think is one of your favorites or one of the better ones. And I think I commented, you know what, this isn't bad, but this isn't Halo. But then again, how many Linux games cost $60? I was just trying to,
Yes, that's right.
just trying to be fair about it. But if they can improve the graphics, and of course this is comes hand in hand with video drivers, also improving over the years, I think it has a terrific future, and I would be willing to try a paid Linux game that at least in graphics quality compared to Halo. Then I would try.
Mm,
But up until then,
mm.
I think I'll stay with my. Granted, it is a $60 game, but there's so much enjoyment of it. Of course, you got the online experience, and its whole, mythology of
Oh,
Halo.
there's no doubt about it. If
Yeah,
if you want a decent gaming experience, you buy a dedicated gaming console. You know that
right.
it's just logic.
Yeah, yeah, but but to be fair, as far as Steam to Linux, from what I see, it's definitely a step in the right direction. IG, absolutely.
And it's interesting. I've noticed a definite I've noticed a definite shift in the comment section of one of the most commented videos on my channel, the Windows versus Linux that I did like 2 years ago now in
Oh yeah,
2000, the Windows 7 versus Zorin video. And yeah, the over the last 2 years, I've noticed a shift from the comments of the Windows people coming back and saying, "Oh, Linux sucks. You can't do any gaming on it. If you want to do games, just forget it." And now there seems to be quite a number of people coming back and saying, well, no, actually, Steam's now here, so it's only a matter of time before your favorite games come to blah blah blah. So, I think just the fact that it's in the minds of so many people.
right.
The expectation is obviously on Valve to
Sure.
to push as many titles as they can. But based on their track record, they released a beta and then a final version of their client in under a year. So, I mean,
Yeah.
on the Linux side of things, that's a very tight development time frame. So
Yeah.
I reckon they pulled that off spectacularly. So there's, I mean, yeah, only they really know what they're capable of. But hey, it's by going off what they've done so far, anything's possible.
Let's see. What do I have here? As far as 2012, and then we can talk a little bit of looking into the future. I absolutely love, as much as I love Unity, and I dabble in the GNOME shell, GNOME 3. I kind of miss the ability to right click, on the top bar to add the little applets like the weather applet and the notes and this and that. Well,
Of course, the age of applets, where did it go?
I know, and it's like, now I know some folks might be saying, dude, get with the program, but I'm like, you know what? I like simple things. And I also like modern, hip things. But that being said, to me, this is my opinion, Linux Mint Cinnamon, I think a lot of people like it. I'm not there yet because it's like a I don't want to use ripoff, but it's almost like a semi-clone of Linux Mint Mate. Now, to give credit to the Linux Mint developers, they took Linux Mint Mate, brought it into the 21st century, sort of. They brought it back, and to me, Linux Mint Mate is the new GNOME 2. It looks like the old GNOME 2 type of like interface. It's not. It's based on GNOME 3 technologies, but you can right-click on the panel bar. You can add stuff. You can add a second panel bar. You don't have to download the GNOME Tweak tool to search for stuff and add this, and maybe it crashes and maybe it's not compatible. You know what I'm talking about. I
Yes, yes,
love it.
indeed.
That is my second choice. I actually have that in one of my ThinkPad laptops and one of my older ones because Mate is less resource intensive versus say Cinnamon. So to me, one of the biggest stories of last year had to be the rebirth, I guess, for lack of a better word, of Linux Mint Mate a proven favorite. What say you?
Yes, I definitely agree. I started one of my first Linux distributions ever was Linux Mint, and the idea of adding applets to the panel and just the traditional user interface was obviously what we were all used to, and it was that user friendliness that got me interested in Linux in the first place. And so the fact that they can still provide that, this many years later,
Right.
people are still going to, depending on what side of the fence you sit on, people are still going to complain that, oh, it's still, based on, essentially it is a fork of GNOME 2 in
Right.
that there's no sort of, there is bug fixes and there is development in that regard, but there's no, I guess there's no like active work being done to expand its functionality beyond what was already available in the latest
Mm-hmm.
release of GNOME 2.
Yeah.
But having said that, the availability of that user interface in a package that is that is just as up to date software
Yes.
wise as everything else that's out there. The fact that the Linux Mint team have done that, and not just done that for themselves, but provided that, sewn back in upstream, and provided that for, the Fedora side of things, OpenSUSE, all of these other Linux distributions, I think is fantastic for anybody that does
Well,
want to use GNOME 2 and really, misses
right.
the functionality that it provides. I think it's fantastic what they've done, and
It's
they
yeah.
do deserve some major props.
It's user friendly. It's one of my top three Linux Mint made, and I believe I neglected to mention with the Mint menu. It's one of my top three for newbies, that being Ubuntu 12.4, Linux Mint, Mate or Mate, and of course Zorin. But yeah, if you haven't, folks out there, if you haven't, take a look at Linux Mint Mate. It's not the most oh, it's not the most glamorous looking, like say like a plasma, desktop with KD, but it's not made for that. It's totally opposite, but it works. It's stable. It's
If you're
simple.
a traditional user and you want to get work done with a minimal learning curve of
Yeah,
the user
yeah,
experience,
absolutely.
that's your tool right there.
There you go. Absolutely. All right. What else do you have for the best Linux stuff for 2012?
There's this interesting thing that some people may or may not have heard about, that, Ubuntu is now on touch devices. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a small kind of thing that slipped through some
yeah,
tech websites
yeah.
sometimes, but no, I mean, okay. All jokes aside, they did make quite a splash at CES, and
Right.
also at the Mobile World Conference or whatever that is,
Sure.
and with the announcement of the fact that they were going to be releasing a touch version of Ubuntu, and they are going to be releasing
A phone. Yeah,
a phone in
yeah.
October, or
Sure.
allegedly.
Yes.
So that will be interesting, I think.
Mm,
The user interface design and what they've done thus far is definitely like non-traditional. They're going with something different, and
yes.
it seems like people respect and enjoy the fact that it is different. It's much
Yes.
cleaner. It's very obvious. It's very smooth.
Right.
At least, it's intended to be very smooth. But I think at the end of the day, make what will make or break this will be the app ecosystem, because
Yes.
that's really, what it boils down to on any platform. That's why Windows Phone 8 is, lagging behind the
Right.
competition, just because it doesn't have the apps.
Not yet.
But
Yes. Right.
not yet anyway.
Yeah.
The
Um,
but I mean, one thing that does give me hope about it is that the fact that, Ubuntu have been investing so much development time and resources into, web apps,
right.
and so much, it's so true. Even, seeing what Chrome OS has been doing, so much of what people do is on the web now. And I think, if they can pull off a very nice integration between the system and web apps, on the phone, then really there's not a whole lot of web services or like apps out there that everyday people use,
Right.
that doesn't have, a decent web app available. So,
Hmm.
even in the Chrome Web Store, there's apps for Evernote, or
Right.
Facebook,
Yeah.
or Pinterest or Skype or whatever. And just if they can pull off the integration between that
Hmm.
and the Ubuntu user experience, then I think,
Yeah.
it's possible that at least a small share of people will want to give it a try. The fact that it's free, Hey, why not?
Well,
Definitely all of the geeks out there are going to try it at least
oh
once.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we'll just have to see where it goes. But
yeah,
I definitely don't see it being, I definitely don't see it being a threat or a takeover to, to Android and to iOS. It's literally going to be the same as what it is on the PC market at the moment. With,
right,
you've got Windows, then you've got Mac, and then you've got, maybe about 20 million or so
hmm,
Ubuntu users. So it'll be
yeah.
about the same, I think, with on the smartphone side of things.
Well, I mean, you raise a good point about the apps. Look, as an Android person, and I do have an iPhone, an older one, a 3G that I use just for iPod, functionality, music. I don't, as a consumer and as a reviewer, you know what? I don't think it's really necessary to have hundreds of thousands of apps and maybe one day millions. I mean, we don't need millions of apps, let's be honest. We only need, like for myself, I use at the most maybe 20, 25 apps that I use maybe all the time and not, let alone a hundred or hundreds of thousands. So, Windows 8, I believe, has 30,000 or something like that. Now, granted, it's not the same as Android or
Which
iOS.
have hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
Right. Now, here's the thing. If you have Mr., mom and dad, and you give them a number of 40,000 versus 500,000, they automatically think that the 500,000 is better. Well, not necessarily. True, it's more choices, but are you going to use every day in between changing baby diapers and answering the phone? Are you going to use 500,000 apps? I mean, come on.
And let's
But,
be honest, probably a solid 350,000 of those 500,000 apps are absolute garbage anyway.
right,
So,
right. But there is that frame of mind where, oh, Windows 8 sucks because it doesn't have a lot of. Well, it does not, because it's new, but that doesn't mean it stinks. Actually, one of my friends this past holiday season had to upgrade his cracked iPhone. He was going to get the new iPhone. He decided to get the Windows 8 phone. Personally, at the time, I thought he was nuts. But it was priced right, multi-core, high resolution screen. It was the Nokia Lumia, I think 920.
920?
I
Yeah.
think yes, it was priced right, less than $100 for a
It's
modern
a very
phone.
decent phone. I'm just putting that out there.
Oh no, and he bought it and he absolutely loves it. And I was playing with it. I'm like, you know what? This is really user friendly. You know what? If a person is new, has had a flip phone, and is new to a smartphone and just wants something high tech but not that high end, say like the iPhone, but just wants to get on the web and go, it's wonderful. You can scroll between the tiles, IG, or swipe to the left and it'll give you like a drop down menu list. Very simple. So
Mm,
it's dummies
mm.
proof. It doesn't have the hundreds, thousands of apps, but I believe he uses just the music, the Facebook, the news, the weather, sports. I don't know if he syncs it to his Xbox. I didn't really ask, but for him, it's perfect. I guess the point of this is there are choices out there. And as much as we enjoy, like to bash Windows 8 or Microsoft, I think on that specific phone, at least, it is a winner. Will it sell? Probably not. But from what I've seen, it's a terrific phone with that operating system.
At the end of the day, as far as the huge app, marketplace that's out there, really all you need at the end of the day is, basic communication apps. You need social networking, maybe some note taking, and
Yeah,
camera, and a few good quality games, and maybe a few little utilities here and there. But that's really all the basic user needs. And apart from that, then you're just finding apps to replace your life, which is a bit sad.
yeah. Well, yeah. Um, Real quick, I want to ask you something real quick. When you updated your Galaxy S2 to the Jelly Bean, did you notice any battery life improvement?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
going to say yes tentatively because I was running before that I was running Cyanogen Mod and a number of other ROMs on my device, and as a general rule, unofficial ROMs don't have as good a battery life as what the official stock ROMs do.
Okay.
So I believe when I was running the official ice cream sandwich ROM for the Galaxy S2,
Yeah.
the battery life was decent.
Okay.
I think I was using a modem that probably wasn't very well optimized for it. But
Mm.
now with the modem that I have and Jelly Bean ROM, yes, the battery life has been much better.
Cool. I have something to look forward to come this August then. Okay. Well, let's briefly look forward to 2013, and then I guess we will wrap this up. We already mentioned the Galaxy S4 coming out, I believe, March 14th. I'm curious to see what Star Trek-ish features will be in that. I'm looking forward to that announcement. The little gaming
I'm just
cube.
waiting for S-Beam to be able to like teleport people around. When that happens,
Oh
that
man, that's when Apple's gonna go, well, we don't have that. No, but yeah, really, the SB, like the teleporter on the Star Trek.
this
Yep.
year we have something revolutionary for you
Yeah,
all. You know how you've seen those Star Trek movies where you can teleport from one side of the world to the other? Well,
yes,
now that dream is a reality in the Galaxy S23.
yes. Do you need to take a quick vacation to Australia? Is the price of a flight too high? Let's use the new S Beam for only $100,000. But no. Yeah.
And then breaking news, airline companies are now going broke.
All right. So for 2013, looking forward to at least gaming the little cube, the Ouya cube, the open
Mm.
source. I believe Amazon will start selling it this summer. I believe it's 99.99. You can buy extra controllers for like $50, which seem high, but anyway, it's open source. Anybody can, I guess, mod it or add to it. I'm not sure what graphics capability, but I'm not even sure if that's going to sell. But once again, I suppose if there are cool games with terrific graphics, why won't it sell, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I did see this project, pop up on Kickstarter, and you hear about it every now and again through various tech websites. But I reckon this little form factor of having like a very portable gaming solution, the Ouya as well as the NVIDIA Shield and stuff like that, where you can, have just a little cube and then plug it into, or a little device and plug it into, a TV and output it at some crazy high resolution. I
Mm,
think, hey, why not? If it's
yeah,
possible, tech as a general rule is only getting smaller,
right.
except in smartphones, they seem to be getting bigger.
Mm,
Um, but hey, I think mobile processing power is of the like the Tegra processors from NVIDIA, are well and
yeah,
truly
yeah.
capable of handling decent graphics. I mean, there's a game on the Android Play Store called Nova. You may or may not have heard of it, but
Hmm.
it's basically like a Halo ripoff
Okay,
for Android. But
okay,
that running on the Nexus 7 with the quad core
right.
Tegra processor, very very smooth. Like literally what we would have seen, in early Xbox games. Like so
Okay,
easily better graphics than the original Halo game. But
right, right.
if we can see that on a mobile device that costs $250,
Mm.
then you know the sky's
Well,
the limit, really.
like the saying goes, seeing is believing, right? Sure.
That's it.
Let's see. Do you have a highlight story for 2013, a rumor or speculation that you saw maybe that I missed or anything?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I mean, the Ubuntu rolling release thing is interesting. Probably
Yes.
not something that we'll see for a little while, at least. I think that the extension of that rumor was that it's not going to happen immediately anytime soon, but possibly around 1404 they might
Yeah.
look at, doing a rolling release model
Right.
between LTS releases.
I understand the logic for a rolling release because you don't have to constantly uninstall or reinstall, but or like constantly, you know. update. But isn't the drawback, I believe, for rolling releases in general, IG, that they're not usually quite as stable? Is this still true, or has things changed?
That's right. And then I think hence the LTS releases that,
Right.
and funnily enough, like I'm the sort of person that I always want to be, using the latest new hotness. And so, the fact that I'm actually still sitting on an operating system that was released, almost a year ago is very surprising for me. But
Mm,
it's simply because it works, it's fast, and and I'm not lacking any
right.
features or functionality.
Right.
So,
Well, I mean, of course, we're talking about Ubuntu 12.04, Precise Pangolin, I think it was
that's
called.
right. Hmm.
Hey, if newbies out there, if you want to give it a shot, it is a long-term support, I believe, through 2017. Easy to install for dual booters. It's my standard Linux desktop. It's IG's. I guess at least right now it works. Of course, we do the updates and stuff. It's wonderful. So give that a shot if you want to give that one a crack at it. All right, just a couple of things and we'll wrap it up. What would be, if you had to pick one, what would be your best Linux distro, Linux OS for 2012?
That is very difficult, but I'm going to say the one that I'm most excited about is probably the Elementary OS Luna
Okay.
becoming stable. That's probably the one that I'm most looking forward to. And from using the beta, I used the beta for a number of months. Yeah, I'm very excited with what they're doing. Their design language is very, very clean.
Hmm.
The performance is just, out of the ballpark. And
It
also,
is
quick note for
fast. Yeah.
anybody that,
Yeah.
that is running on Ubuntu: if you install sudo apt-get install preload, it can automatically load the libraries of commonly used applications that you use into RAM. So it makes launching apps a lot faster. It is a technology that Elementary use by default in their
Hmm.
distribution, and that helps. That makes it present itself quite a bit faster. But yes, back to the topic. Elementary OS Luna, I'm definitely very excited for a final version because development is still going. Their applications are still improving, and it's been a very long awaited release ever since Jupiter came out, like
Okay.
in 2011, I believe.
Real quick, sudo apt-get install preload, right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. For 2012, well, since I do a newbie channel for newbies, I still got to go with Zorin 6 for the simple fact, at least for total newbies who want to try Linux, at least it somewhat resembles and looks like Windows 7 Zorin 6, that is. So if it looks comfortable, you might stick with it. But for me, I've kind of outgrown Zorin 6. I don't need for it to look like that anymore. I got to go with my number one on a personal level for Linux, the OS for 2012 has to be 12.04. You and I talked about it. It's cool. It
Mm.
works. It's fast. I love using the dash. You enjoy the HUD to find certain apps and and the software. It's awesome. So for my personal choice, for me, not necessarily for the brand new newbie, but not that it's hard to learn, but for myself, yeah, I'll stick with Ubuntu 12.04 right now as my number one choice for Linux distro for 2012.
And as a theme that we keep returning to on this show and on our independent channels,
Yeah,
always experiment and use what works for you.
sure.
There is not going to be one single solution that will rule them all as
Right,
far as best
right.
distro ever. There's a huge, like vast ocean of distributions to
Yes.
try. So just get out there, experiment, use the one that suits you the
Yeah,
best.
I mean, you make a very good point. When viewers, they gravitate to my channel because, I'll say, Total OS is total technology for dummies or newbies. I use those terms interchangeably. Of course, when I say dummies, I mean that with the utmost respect and, friendship. I pick the ones that I believe will give you the ones that will not give you any unpleasant surprises. How does that sound? That's why I'll pick your Linux Mints, your Ubuntu's, your Zorns. But like you said, there are a vast array of choices open to you. Now, once you get comfortable with Linux, and if you are brand new to this, honestly, really give yourself at least a year dual booting if you still dual boot to get comfortable. And then definitely branch out. An example of branching out for me would be Manjaro Linux, which is based on Arch, which is not really necessarily for newbies, but
Yeah, it's a brave new step into another
for
swimming
me,
pool.
absolutely. I've tinkered with it in their virtual box, the open box edition versus the standard XFCE DE. It's boy, you talk about speed. I'm impressed. It is a learning curve for me, but because I have some experience, I'm a little bit more patient, like when things break. But for absolute newbies, stick with what I recommend. You certainly don't have to absolutely just do those, but at least with my channel, I give you a first step. The rest is up to you. And of course, looking at IG's channel when he does reviews on Linux, of course, you call it as you see it. If it's good, you say if it's good. If it sucks, you don't really use the word suck. You may just say like this is somewhat disappointing or not up to par, which is fine. But um,
Keeping it classy.
I that's perfectly acceptable. Yes. Okay. Let's wrap this up
Uh,
for tonight. A couple things. I'm getting requests. Well, they're asking, where are you? And well, of course, you're back. You're in between college, and I believe you have a month break. So we will try to squeeze in as many of these as we can for, I guess, for the month of March. I guess that's when your free time is, or
that's correct.
okay. The second thing is the Sunday night news and nonsense report. I usually do these with Spatry and you, all three of us. He got that promotion at the business down south. He's doing fine. He's still around. He'll get back to me when he can, I'm sure, when he has the time. But IG, we're talking about this. We could definitely try doing a Sunday night news and nonsense report maybe next week. I know when it's Sunday here, it's Monday there, so you're not available. But what we may do is just record it, like I said, and then I'll just upload it Saturday night or something. Just call it the Center Report. So if the
No
viewers say,
problem.
okay, we'll give that a crack, give that a shot. Maybe IG has some funny news from down under that I'm not aware of. So be on the lookout for that. And finally, IG, did you know that an Australian businessman has plans to build the Titanic 2?
Yes, I have actually heard about that.
It is going to be somewhat of an exact replica, but of course it'll have modern engines, a helipad, air conditioning, and of course it'll have enough lifeboats in case, God forbid something happens. But apparently this thing is going to be built and be ready to sail by 2016. I believe they have either pre-sold or have approximately 40,000 people around the world who would like to be the first on this maiden voyage, and
And
it
I
will.
believe James Cameron will be one of them. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there.
Why not? It would be a terrific tie-in to his. Well, I guess you can't make a Titanic too. You really can't raise it and then sink it again. It wouldn't make sense. But anyway, no. But I thought,
I'm sure
hey,
he'll try. I'm sure
yeah,
he'll
I'm
negotiate
sure.
some.
I'm sure if there's a market for that kind of storyline, sure. But hey, how about we could have you in charge of the Linux computers that will run the ship. I'm sure that's what they're gonna have, right? I could be the what do you call it? The tour guide, since I've been told to have a smooth voice. We could have Linux Battery in charge of the entertainment. Okay, okay.
Oh, undoubtedly.
And and I'm sure we could hire some other folks, around the various YouTube channels for this thing to sail. We work. We will do the jobs fairly cheap, so the person who's going to build it, we will be available for 2016, and give us a shot. And hey, you never know. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. So. Well, IG, that's all I have. I'm just kidding, of course, but do you have anything else?
Yeah, no. I mean, you had me convinced. I mean, sign me up.
With today's world, and technology has made it truly a small world where people can instantly communicate with all kinds of topics. Really, you just never know. You never know what could happen. So, anyway,
Very, very true.
All right. On that note, I think we will wrap it up for tonight. We definitely covered a lot of topics concerning the Linux world with a little bit of, Windows sprinkled in. I hope this makes up for the many, for the last time that we did one. It's been so long, but I hope you guys enjoy listening to this. Please check out the Infinitely Galactic channel on YouTube. Of course, mine is the Total OS Today channel. If you are a newbie, coming from Windows. That's what I'm here for. But you can definitely check IG's channel, who does a little bit more in-depth reviews on Linux. I do just about stories on everything. In fact, I just uploaded a story on the Titanic 2, and I believe a developer or a businessman from the States want to send a husband and wife team to Mars and back by 2018. So there you go. I do not want to be on that trip. That's just a little bit unstable for me, if you know what I
That's
mean.
just a bit too out there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, IG, that's all I have. Do you have anything else to wrap it up?
Oh well, just thank you once again, people, for tuning in and listening, and definitely, let us know in the comments, either on this video or wherever you find this video, just about what you're most excited for in Linux in 2013, and I guess any big stories that we missed about the year in review of 2012. So yes, definitely let us know and give us your opinions. And yes, thank you all once again for having for tuning in, and thank you, Toss, today for having me on the show. And yeah, let's look forward to having
Yeah.
more of these in the future.
Always a pleasure. And I neglected to mention that for myself, my very first podcast was with, of course, Infinitely Galactic, not knowing where this would lead us, myself. And next month will be my third year anniversary on YouTube. And I believe I got to look back, IG, but the end of May, the start of June will be 2 years of podcasting, toss casting, and all that good stuff. So thank you.
And that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Thanks to you. Okay, folks, I will leave it at that. Yeah, we'll catch you maybe next week. Look for a Center report, barring any unforeseen events. Hopefully, we will do that, and I'll upload it as a Sunday night news and nonsense report. Thank you so much. And speaking for myself and IG, we will catch all of you sometime in the future. Ciao.